560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J. This morning, Charles Thomas, former ABC7 political reporter.
Co-host du jour.
Yes, co-host du jour, indeed. Nice French, perfect timing, because we're going to talk French-Canadian a little bit. Justin Trudeau. He's having a hell of a time, and Trump is having a lot of fun at his expense. Part of Trump's
He is a joke. That's why I'm laughing.
Part of Trump's Christmas message, Merry Christmas to all, including the wonderful soldiers of China who are lovingly but illegally operating the Panama Canal. Always making certain the United States puts in billions of dollars in repair money, but will have absolutely nothing to say about anything. So he's not giving up on the canal issue. He's also not giving up on annexing Canada. Also, writes Trump on Truth Social, to Governor Justin Trudeau of Canada, whose citizens' taxes are far too high. But if Canada was to become our 51st state, their taxes would be cut by more than 60%. Their businesses would immediately double in size, and they would be militarily protected like no other country in the world. And he's got some commentary for the Greenlanders as well. But the trolling / overture to Canada, maybe it's a combination of trolling, but then there's some real insight into the trolling, because this is about how well Justin Trudeau is being received these days in Canada. One woman ran into him on the ski slopes at a resort lodge, and this was that interaction.
Mr. Prime Minister. Yeah. Please get the out of BC.
Have a wonderful day, man.
Yeah, you suck.
She woos him over only to spike him as, please get the blank out of BC and you suck. So that's about how it's going. And so actually Kevin O'Leary, Kevin O'Leary, the real estate impresario, right, and the game show host, if you want to call it that, Shark Tank. He is proposing, and he's apparently meeting with Trump or discussing this with Trump, not an incorporation of Canada into the United States, not the 51st state, but an economic union. Take a listen.
What I did, and I've been doing this now for about 48 hours, and I'm getting a lot of feedback from the Canadian public. I enjoy a very large social media following there. So I said to them, look, what deal do you want? And they definitely don't want to give up their sovereignty, but they really want to explore this idea of an economic union, because Canada, you think about the 40 million people, size of California, unlimited resources, unlimited power, unlimited gas, unlimited water, unlimited lumber, unlimited everything. And they're not stupid. They're thinking, wait a second, what if we had free trade east, west, north, south? And we put all our resources in, instead of squabbling on our own border between Canada and the United States, and put all that money up into protecting ourselves against the Chinese and the Russians up north. That all makes sense to Canadians. They just don't want to give up their sovereignty, just like somebody born in Louisiana doesn't want to be born somewhere else. They want to say, look, I was born in Calgary, whatever. But the way to solve for that is a passport, no different than the EU. Any American get it, any Canadian can get the background check. They're starting to like that idea a lot more than the idea of selling out the whole country.
Let's see how much Steve Moore likes the idea. Steve Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-authored with Art Laffer. Steve Moore, Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Happy New Year. By the way, there's a wonderful meme out there related to what we've been talking about. It has Trump, paying his Amazon shopping cart bill, and it has Panama Canal, Canada,
Greenland.
Greenland. Look, this is was Ronald Reagan's vision, right? Going back to the early mid-1980s when Reagan talked about this whole idea of North America being a giant free trade zone, and the idea of people being able to come across the border. By the way, it's a kind of a quick, funny story why this would be important about the idea of, being able to, people coming back and forth over the Canadian border. I had to give a speech outside of Niagara Falls. This was a few years ago, and I flew into Buffalo, and you drive from Buffalo to Niagara Falls. But I forgot that Niagara Falls is in Canada, and so I get to the border, and they wouldn't let me in because I didn't have my passport. And I thought, oh, I forgot. But that would be kind of a convenient thing to just have a free flow of people and goods over the border of those countries. But Canada is significantly poorer than the United States. We had an item in our hotline the other day showing that the average person in West Virginia, which is one of our poorer states, is richer than any of the provinces of Canada.
Well, but so I mean, is that since you're part of the inner circle there of the pointy-headed econ guys? Yes, exactly. I mean, is this Trump partly trolling and having fun at Trudeau's expense, but partly something on the order of Kevin O'Leary that he really wants to contemplate maybe if a Pierre Poilievre became the PM?
Trump thinks big. He thinks outside of the box. Now, I have not talked to him about this particular issue, but it's very Trumpian, to think about, hey, maybe we could take over Greenland. Maybe we could, purchase it. Maybe we could, have this, Canada as the 51st state. Obviously, that's not going to happen. Kevin O'Leary is right. The Canadians aren't going to give up their sovereignty.
Right.
But it's in both countries' interest to have this, closer economic partnership. But Canada under Trudeau has gone in the wrong direction, Dan. They've gone in a more socialist direction, to say the least. They were crazy during COVID. Trudeau was one of the worst leaders during COVID. And Trudeau is much more of a globalist. He wants the United Nations and the World Health Organization, all these other organizations to go after countries' sovereignty. So, there's pluses and minuses of this new relationship with Canada.
I wanted to point out this op-ed you and Steve Forbes combined on in the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you guys are you two radical free market guys are beating.
We've been talking about this for 35 years.
Exactly, I know you're beating the flat tax drum again. But I mean, is this something that Trump is really willing to fight for? Remind people of the proposal, and then answer my question.
So. Here's the background on this for people who did not read the piece in the Wall Street Journal. It's got a huge amount of response, by the way. That when we did the 2017 tax cut, one of the things that we did that was kind of underappreciated, and especially for middle class folks like me and you, is that we doubled the standard deduction. In other words, what you can do is just, instead of itemizing your deductions for charity and mortgage and all this, all you have to do is check a box. And you get, I forget the number. I think it's around $20,000, just right off the top. So right now, today, 90% of Americans do not itemize their deductions, guys. So here's a little quiz question for you. Who do you think those 10% are who do itemize their deductions?
Charles Thomas and the rich people.
Yeah, the rich people like Charles Thomas. And they're going to make Charles pay his flat tax by getting rid of all the, the still existing deductions like these. And now people in Illinois are not going to like this one too much, Dan, but getting rid of entirely the state and local tax deduction, because it doesn't make sense that people in low tax states like Texas should have to subsidize people in high tax states like Illinois. And then the mortgage deduction, most people don't take the mortgage deduction. It's only people who buy the big mansions that take advantage of that. And similarly with respect to even the charitable deduction. The evidence shows very clear that when we cut tax rates in the 1980s from 70% to 28%, meaning that the value of the charitable deduction went down, guess what happened to charitable giving, Dan and Charles?
Went up.
Went up, yeah. So people give money when they have, the disposable income to do it. So it makes so much sense to do this. Just get rid of all the remaining deductions. By the way, you got to get Bernie Sanders on your show, okay?
Yeah,
get Bernie
I'd love
Sanders on the show and ask him, hey, all you talk about is, tax cuts for the rich. The real tax cuts for the rich are these deductions. Why not make a deal with Republicans, get rid of all of them, lower the tax rate to 15%? By the way, you want to see America blow away the rest of the world? We're already doing that. but you lower our tax rate on individuals and corporations to 15%. Every single penny of capital investment in the world is going to flow here. So it's an opportunity, and look, I do think it's in play.
Really? So, I mean, I agree. It would be a great policy, but the idea that Trump and Johnson and Thune will spend political capital as opposed to just sort of move along what the 2017 tax cuts to extend them, it just seems implausible to me.
Well, okay, you're cynical, and you can
Yes,
never be cynical. You can never be cynical enough about what happens in Washington. Let me put it like that. And so it is a big jump to be able to, a big leap to be able to do something like this. But what Trump is doing, step by step, is moving us closer.
Yeah,
that was the point of our piece. He's moving us closer to the whole idea of a flat tax, one piece at a time. But it would be, and the other thing, look, a postcard tax return, it would take you an hour to fill out your taxes. You want to drain the swamp. You guys, I know you both. You want to drain the swamp. There is no better way to drain the swamp than to simplify the tax code, because most of the horse trading that goes on, guys, as you know, in Washington, is selling tax favors. Well, now you wouldn't be able to do that.
100%. I mean, I completely agree. You guys are right.
Charles, are you with me on this?
I'm with you.
I know you millionaires. I know millionaires and billionaires like you don't like to give away these.
I tell you, man, my net worth has gone up in the last 10 minutes. Hey, look, I got a question. I'm looking at the title of the article, which I haven't read, and I'll admit that the Trump economic miracle: and the plan to unleash prosperity again. Now,
yes.
How do you envision the U.S. role in a so-called, or what they're calling, the multipolar world, where China perhaps will be the largest economy in the world in a few years, India close behind? What will our role be? How will we, the United States, be a prosperous country in that context?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, first of all, that is not true. I know that some people write this. Oh, China's going to be the biggest economy in the world. No frickin' way.
Okay.
No way. If you look right now, this is the most amazing thing. If you look at the value of all companies in the world, okay, every company in the world that's publicly traded, 60% of the valuation of all publicly traded companies are in the United States. That's never happened before. We are so globally dominant right now in our companies. You guys know the Magnificent Seven. NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Google. I forget what the other one or two are. Those 7 companies have more market cap valuation than all the companies in all the other countries in the world. China, our market capitalization is 20 times as high as China's is. They are not catching up with us, and they've got the socialist communist model. It's not going to work. You hear it first on the Dan and Amy show with Charles. Their economy is going to crash and burn because show me anywhere, Dan, where that model works, where you have the people in government dictating the economy.
No, I agree. I wish more of the world and more of this country was paying attention to what Milei is doing in Argentina, because that's the model.
Exactly. The 2 most popular leaders in the world today globally are Milei and Donald Trump.
I wanted to get you to weigh in and perhaps adjudicate this debate. We discussed it for the hour preceding you. You know where I'm going with this. What took hold over the holidays?
I'm going to take Charles' side in this one, so go ahead.
No, well, we're Charles and I are kind of on the same side on this. But Musk and Ramaswamy versus Bannon et al. On H-1B visas, and Trump seemingly siding with Musk and Ramaswamy that the H-1B visa program is something that should stay. Not saying it can't be examined, that it can't be reconsidered and reformed in meaningful ways if there are reforms that need to be advanced. But the concept of it is good, and we're keeping it, and Bannon wants it blown up tomorrow.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think you know where I am on this one. I'm a protege of the great Julian Simon, who wrote the great book, The Economic Consequences of Immigration. Immigration is a gift from the rest of the world to the United States. This call will be recorded. It is enormously beneficial to us. The H-1B program. Now, you're right, Dan. There are some there's some fraud that goes on with the program and that kind of thing. But for the most part, these people who come in on H-1Bs are the people, I just mentioned that the technology dominance the United States has. No other country in the world has the opportunity to bring in the top minds. And, these are the people, as Larry Kudlow calls them, brainiacs. And, why wouldn't we do this? We should vastly expand the program. We should have, as many of these smart people who want to come into the country as we possibly can get. So,
well,
why we wouldn't do it.
You know what the criticism is? The criticism is what the big companies, big tech companies, big finance companies, banks, what they're doing is getting tech workers at lower salaries. So they're just reducing their labor costs. They're not necessarily increasing their talent quotient. What do you say to that?
No, I mean, the evidence shows that every H-1B creates about 2 or 3 additional jobs for Americans. This is why so many of these facilities are based in the United States, because if they can't get the foreign talent to come in here, guess what? The plants are going to leave to where, they're going to go to India and China. So, no, this is a huge, huge benefit to the United States. And, look, I'm friends with Steve Bannon. I go on his War Room show all the time. He and I argue about this all the time. I think he's a smart guy, Bannon, but I think he's completely wrong on this one.
Stephen Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity, again, co-authored with Art Laffer. Steve, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Have a great New Year. Take care. Bye.
You too. And Steve joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
As we near the end of the year, many families in Latin America and the Caribbean are struggling just to get by. Inflation, food shortages, and natural disasters have left parents unable to feed their children or access water.
When the kids go to bed and we just stay in the night talking about how it's very hard to see my kids go to bed with hunger and not having something to give to them.
For over 40 years, Food for the Poor has stood alongside families like these. Gifts of $500 from AM 560 listeners have already provided food for 10 children for an entire year. Now we're asking for your help with the next 4. Your one-time gift of $200 provides life-saving food for 4 children for a year and helps the community get water closer to home. Make your best gift today. Click the red Give Life banner at 560theanswer.com or call 844-862-4673. And we thank you in advance for your generosity.